Good morning. My name is Lois Martin, and I am the owner-director of Community Day Center for Children. And I'd like to welcome everyone to our facility, and thank you for being here this morning. CDCC, as we affectionately call it, was founded in 1963 under the leadership of my mother, Lula Arlena Martin, affectionately known as Mama Martin, who passed in 2011. She worked hard to keep the doors open, and it was an honor to leave my career at IBM in 1991 to take over the reins. She advocated for early learning funding, and I continue her fight along with my sisters and brothers who are members of the Greater Seattle Child Care Business Coalition. I know we have a couple of their members here. If you would just raise your hands. Coalition members, yes, thank you so much for being here. My mother was born in 1920, 2 years after the Spanish flu pandemic rocked the world. Her generation was not prepared to deal with the devastating human and economic loss that the world faced. And our fight with COVID-19 is no different. Many child care sites have shuttered operations as families elect to keep their children out of congregate care, or staff have left the field for various reasons. But last year, coalition members reached out to City of Seattle leaders to request monies for our staff members who, despite many not having health insurance, despite the virus unknowns, despite having to figure out how to keep their own families safe, we still elected to work in person during the early months of the pandemic. We provided care for the children of first responders and other essential workers. We showed up, and I'd like to add, and many of us showed out. And we appreciate City Council members, the Department of Education and Early Learning staff and leadership team, and other city officials acknowledging our efforts with the first child care recognition payments. So I just want to thank you, and I applaud you, and I know other providers do, for having that foresight. So in December of 2021, the City of Seattle provided $2.9 million to distribute to child care staff as a thank you for staying the course. I know at my site, staff members use funds for a variety of purposes, with many using the monies to simply keep up with the rising cost of living in the City of Seattle and King County. The 2022 Child Care Retention Payments and Seattle Stabilization Grants are a vital step in our advancement toward consistent investment in our child care workers. I have no doubt that my staff and those at other sites, whether home or center-based, will appreciate the influx of cash. But I'm also hopeful that this is the first of many installments of more direct funding to come to our field as we continue to advocate for public or private assistance to ensure that educators in the child care sector receive a thriving wage. Through Best Starts for Kids programming, Executive Constantine's team is finding innovative ways to support young children, families, and providers. He has long advocated for families in our city, and I am pleased to welcome Executive Constantine to the podium.
Thank you, Lois, and thanks to all of you for being here today. Here in King County, our guiding principle, our true north, is that we are making this a welcoming community where every person can thrive. And everything we do across all of our departments and divisions and programs is ultimately aimed at that true north. Well, the child care workforce is a critical thread running through that work as a central element of the mission, helping the youngest people in our county learn and grow, and helping their parents be able to keep our region moving. The pandemic reminded us all that child care providers are nothing short of heroic. As Lois said, these dedicated professionals continued to show up day after day, knowing the risks, to bring normalcy and routine and, critically, social interaction to the lives of our youngest residents. But even before the pandemic, this work had its challenges. Child care providers continue to be a supportive presence in our children's lives because they know just how important it is. Research shows that investing in these earliest years catalyze a cascade of positive impacts throughout a child's life. So that's why, today, I'm excited to announce $7 million in funding to help retain our valued child care workers. This investment is in partnership with the City of Seattle, and I'm grateful to Mayor Harrell for being here today and for all of his efforts to make today possible. We estimate that these payments to eligible providers will be able to reach more than 9,000 child care workers across the county. Now, with funding from Best Starts for Kids, the Best Starts for Kids levy, this investment will provide immediate financial relief to help people stay in these critical child care careers. Continue important care for our youngest residents. Ensure that child care workforce is stable and that child care is a great place to work, helping equitably increase access and affordability for families and grow compensation for providers. We know the critical role the child care workforce plays here in King County, and throughout the pandemic, we've ensured that our investments went into supporting this sector. We launched 3 emergency child care programs that funded grants to providers, emergency care for essential workers, support for informal caregivers, and a sliding scale subsidy for families who were impacted by the pandemic. And just last week, it was announced that King County is one of 20 jurisdictions selected to participate in Results for America's Good Jobs and Equity Project. This is a new effort that puts federal dollars to work to help improve job quality and advance workforce equity. The chosen project for King County focuses on reducing barriers to childcare, while also better supporting this critical workforce. Our region's prosperity and quality of life will be stifled if we do not equitably address access to affordable childcare and thriving wages for childcare workers. We continue to look for new ways to show up for this childcare workforce, ensuring children in King County are able to access high-quality, affordable early learning and childcare opportunities, and that the providers themselves have the support they need to serve in this essential role. We know that this investment that we announced today is not enough, but it is my hope that it can be a down payment, a significant down payment, and a recognition of the hard work and the critical workforce our region depends on every day. I'd like to now welcome Mayor Bruce Harrell to speak about the City of Seattle's efforts and investments. Thank you.
Thank you, Dow. Very excited to be here. I will not repeat the points that Dow Constantine made because, well, I didn't get a copy of his speech, otherwise I would. So, we're at 22nd and Spruce, and you don't grow up around here and not know that this is where the magic happens. We, as a city and under Dow's leadership and the King County Council's leadership, yes, we invest in organizations, but the truth of the matter is we invest in people. And again, you don't grow up around here without knowing Mama Martin and Lois and her brother Theo. In fact, her brother contacted me about 45 minutes ago and said, Mayor Harrell, be on your A game. A person we affectionately called Mr. Dennis, or LD, came by my house yesterday and said, you're going to go see Lois's place, do her justice. That's our community, that we care about the future leaders of tomorrow. That's what these investments are all about. And as I look at the young folks here, well, I don't see any. As I look at the young folks in here, that we recognize the fact that they will truly be our leaders when given the right nurturing, the right tutelage, the right resources. And I'm very proud to stand with Executive Constantine and the King County as our partners in this regional child care program. Now, in our One Seattle mantra, we believe that every kid deserves the care and support needed to ensure they're simply on a path towards success. And that is what these investments are all about. It goes way beyond just brick and mortar. I want to thank the Greater Seattle Child Care Business Coalition who have informed our work, our investment strategies, and let's just be very candid for the moment. This industry has faced some of the toughest challenges in the last years dealing with our COVID recovery. It's been very tough on many people, but particularly tough on how we care for our children, how we continue to give them the continuum of support that is so important to us. So today, the City of Seattle are very proud to make a $2.4 million investment available through our Jump Start Payroll Expense Tax, which of course we are combining with the $5 million in funding available through King County's Best Start for Kids levy. And I want to thank the Seattle City Council during their budget process and making sure they listen to the communities. And I want to thank the voters, again, under the county's leadership and the regional partnership that we have, the voters for realizing these are some of the most critical investments we can make. And I got to tell you, it's very nice when I could now talk to the county leaders, King County Executive Constantine and members of the council, and I could just simply call them. And they won't hang up like they used to do when I was on the city council. Actually, pick up the phone. No, they never hung up. I'm kidding. And we could just talk about these as investment strategies. We could informalize the relationships so we could really talk heart to heart about what we're trying to do in the city. The remainder of the City of Seattle's funding will be added to the county's child care retention payment funding that was mentioned a little earlier. I'll close by saying this. We're not out of the woods with respect to the pandemic. We're not out of the woods in terms of our investment strategies and making sure there's a clear path toward just safety and health and vibrancy. I want to thank our Seattle firefighters just last night for responding to a fire up at the Madison Apartments late last night. We're not out of the woods in any of this important work that we do, so we keep taking steps toward that destination. This is a journey together. When I look at Lois Martin, who, for those that don't know, has an incredible story, and she could do so many things, but what more noble purpose than to feed and nurture and teach and groom and love and just care about our future leaders of tomorrow. What more noble path, despite all the things she could do. And I got to tell you, Mama Martin taught her well. So having said that, it's absolutely my honor to introduce Donny Willeto from Child Care Resources. Child Care Resources on the front lines working directly with providers and providing key supports. Thank you, Donny, for being here, and I present to you Donny.
Hello, everyone. Thank you, Mayor. I am incredibly happy to be with you all today. On behalf of Child Care Resources staff and board of directors, I would like to share that we are incredibly honored to be in partnership with the City of Seattle and King County. This is to recognize the incredibly important and critical work of our early learning community. Child Care Resources was founded over 30 years ago with a mission to improve all children's access to high-quality early learning experiences. We do this by engaging with families, child care providers, and our community. Our vision is for every child to have a great start in school and in life. Our day-to-day work supports families in need of childcare and childcare providers across Seattle and King County. We are a community collaborator, advocate, and data resource, ensuring everyone understands the value of early learning and the supports needed to strengthen the early learning community. At the height of the pandemic, we partnered with public and private agencies to disseminate millions of dollars to families for childcare subsidies and to providers for sustainability grants. We are focused on finding solutions to stabilize our childcare system and honor our childcare providers with equitable pay. Today, we are here witnessing a continued effort and a step toward not just living wages, but driving wages for childcare providers. However, there's still a lot to be done. And this only renews childcare resources' commitment to the efforts to continue advocating for our early learning community. I'm excited to share some information about the payment application and the process. The application is open today through Monday, June 27th. It is one application for the retention payment and stabilization grants. The retention payment is open to all DCYF licensed childcare programs located in King County serving ages birth to 12. This includes licensed family childcares, center-based, and school-age childcare programs. All staff on payroll at the date of the application are eligible for retention payment, whether full-time or part-time. Links to the application will be posted on the Department of Education and Early Learning website, and Child Care Resources will be sending emails out to those that are registered to our provider email list. The application will be available in multiple languages as well as English. Child Care Resources is offering an information session in Spanish tonight at 6:30, and another session in Somali on Tuesday, June 14th at 6:30 as well. Zoom links for these sessions are located on the Department of Education and Early Learning website. The amount of the retention payment for eligible staff persons will be determined once all applications are received and processed. Award notification emails will be sent at the end of July, and payments will be distributed August through October. If you have any questions regarding the application, please reach out to Child Care Resources via email at grants@childcare.org, or you can also call the CCR provider line at 1-800-446-1114. We are multilingual and have language interpretation services available as well. If you are a provider currently working with a CCR coach, you may reach out to your provider coach and they will help you out with the application. There are roughly over 2,100 licensed providers within King County. Child Care Resources is committed to supporting these providers and recognizing the important and challenging work of providing high-quality early learning experiences for all our children throughout our communities. Thank you, City of Seattle and King County, for these investments. Now I have the honor of introducing our next speaker, Susan Brown. Susan is a founder and CEO of Kids Company, which serves more than 1,400 children a year, and she's also a founding member of the Greater Seattle Child Care Business Coalition. Susan?
I'm not sure if I should move this or I'll do my best. So good morning, everyone. Thank you for having me. I'm going to say it's no coincidence that all of the speakers here today are sandwiched between two child care providers. It's exemplary of the fact that child care is what holds everything together. As Donny mentioned, I'm the founder and CEO of Kids Co. It's a privilege to be here and to be with you all, but I'm especially grateful to be here with my Greater Seattle Child Care Business Coalition colleagues, Margene McCraw, Lois Martin, Erica Lanier, and her partner in crime, Tamisha. Thank you for being here, and it's my privilege to work with you on these efforts. Like many of you, I wear multiple hats. In addition to my work at Kids Co., I'm a co-owner of a small marine sector business with my husband. I have two wonderful kids, and I'm privileged to be their mother. And I'm a daughter and elder caregiver to my mom, who lives with us. So my world spans the full spectrum of what many of you may be dealing with also. But what I want to say more about that is that it's thanks to my mom and my dad that I have Kyushu and Viking blood flowing through my veins. And that's important because it's what gives me the strength and the stamina to never give up and to keep doing this work, because it's really hard. Kids Co. has provided quality child care programs since 1989. And with the support of Kids Co.'s volunteer board of directors and the organization's amazing child care professionals, we've built a nonprofit child care organization that pre-pandemic was literally serving 900 to 1,400 kids annually. But today, we're barely serving a fraction of that as a consequence of one very important thing. Our challenge of finding people to do this work. And this scenario is not specific to Kids Co. Other providers in Seattle, King County, and across our state are facing this very challenge. And I share this story with you to illustrate the gravity of the child care crisis in our community. Some of you might be thinking, well, every sector is struggling to find staff. But here's the difference. Child care is the bedrock of our economy. Every sector, whether it be business, government, education, or healthcare, every individual is linked to and depends on child care in one way or another. And to help illustrate my point, since you've all been standing here motionless for quite a while, I just want you to do a little bit of movement with me. So if you would just raise your hand if you have a child or had a child in child care. Raise your hand if you work with someone who has a child in child care. Raise your hand if you know someone who is looking for child care. So as you can see, most, if not all of us, have a connection to child care. Child care retention payments are important to acknowledge those staff who are still in the field. These retention funds also represent the long overdue respect and acknowledgement deserved by our invisible, essential workforce. Seattle stabilization grants are vital to keep child care centers in Seattle open while we continue to rebuild. I'm deeply appreciative of the impact this short-term investment will have in the lives of the child care staff. But I'm also hopeful that this is the beginning of continuous investment in the child care sector. I want to express my deep, deep gratitude for all of the child care professionals who continue to do this vital work. I'd like to thank Mayor Harrell, Executive Constantine, Seattle's Department of Education and Early Learning, and King County Best Starts for Kids staffs for spearheading the child care retention payments and Seattle stabilization grants. Thank you all so very much. And I believe Executive Constantine will be coming back to the podium. Thank you very much.
Hello, everyone. I'm Sheila Ader-Capistani. I'm the Director of Best Starts for Kids, and I will actually be answering questions in place of the executive who had to leave, and also any questions that are directed with our speakers.
I just had a point of clarification because I heard the executive ask or say that there's $7 million for Best Starts for Kids, and then I heard the mayor say that there's money coming from the Jump Start tax, which makes it sound like there's $9.4 million. Can you explain the math?
Yes, so the executive said there's a $7 million investment, 5 from Best Starts for Kids, and the other part from the City of Seattle.
So is it 2.4 then from the city? So it's
Yes.
7, then it would be 7.4.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes. Yes.
The executive mentioned 9,000 child care workers getting the grant. Is that the idea, and where did that come from?
So we worked really closely, actually, with the providers and the workers themselves to figure out how should we do this. 9,000 is our estimate about how many. It really is going to depend on who applies for the grant, and then we'll take that total investment and divide it among all the folks that apply.
Susan, I'm wondering if you can answer this question. Is money the is money the reason that childcare is having a hard time finding people to work those jobs?
It's a primary reason, but there are other factors that are related to childcare regulation. Not that I'm proposing we don't have regulation, but there are some challenges related to that. But I think it's also hard. It's very difficult work. It's hard work for low pay, and we really need much greater investment from business and government to make the childcare sector really thrive and work.
Is there any way you can quantify what this pot of money will mean for workers that are, you just said low wages? What this is going to mean?
What it helps them do is pay bills and perhaps do something special for themselves that they are unable to do with the wages they currently receive. We as providers, we are doing our very best to compensate them at the highest levels that we can. But with ratios as low as we have to keep them, and then with trying to maintain some level of social distance right now, because as you heard and we know, the pandemic is alive and well. So there are multiple layers of challenge, and it's a very complex issue, which is going to take a lot more than a press conference to address. But I can assure you that the Greater Seattle Child Care Business Coalition will continue to inform, educate, and hopefully inspire folks to do more for the sector, because it's of benefit to every single one of us.